Rahab's roof, from Joshua chapter 2. Remember, before our Christmas break, we'd been studying about the children of Israel and how they had wandered in the wilderness and the different things that happened, and now they've come outside the promised land. Moses had died and left Joshua in charge of God's people, the Israelites. Joshua was now leading the people, and soon they'd be crossing the Jordan River to go into the land God had promised to give them. But first, Joshua wanted to know what was going on in and around Jericho, the first city they would come to once they crossed the Jordan River. So Joshua asked two of his most trusted men to go on a secret mission into Jericho. Joshua wanted these two men to have a look around and then come back to tell him what they saw. The two men agreed and set off for Jericho. A strong wall surrounded Jericho. It was so thick and strong that houses were built right into it. The spies soon found their way to one of the houses built into the wall, the house of a woman named Rahab. Rahab knew that the men were Israelites, but she let them in anyway. But the arrival of these two spies was not much of a secret. Joshua 2 verse 2 tells us who knew they were in Jericho. And it was told the king of Jericho, saying, "Behold, there came men in hither tonight of the children of Israel to search out the country." The king of Jericho seemed to have better spies. Not only did the king already know that the Israelite men were there, but he also knew whose house they were in. Joshua 2 verse 3 says, "And the king of Jericho sent unto Rahab, saying," of course the king couldn't send a text message, the king couldn't make a phone call or send a telegram. None of these things existed then. No, to send a message, he had to send a messenger. So just after sunset, when it was time to shut the city gates, the king's message came to Rahab in the form of live guards. The guards were probably big, and there were probably a lot of them. But by the time they knocked, Rahab had hidden the spies. The two men were lying quietly underneath piles of flax plants that Rahab had laid out on the roof of the house. Rahab's actions took courage because she knew that if the king of Jericho found out that she was helping the Israelite spies, she would be killed. Joshua 2 verses 4 and 5 says where Rahab said the spies went. "And the woman took the two men and hid them, and said thus, There came men unto me, but I wist not whence they were. And it came to pass about the time of shutting the gate, when it was dark, the men went out. Whither the men went, I wot not. Pursue after them quickly, for ye shall overtake them." Rahab told the guards, "Yes, the men came to me, but I didn't know where they came from. They left at dusk. I don't know which way they went. Go after them quickly, and you may catch up with them." So the guards went out of the city, and the gate shut behind them. They followed the dark road toward the river. They probably expected to find the spies trying to get back to the other Israelites on the far side of the Jordan. Rahab shut her door and probably sighed with relief. Whew. The guards were gone. Now she really needed to talk to the two men on her roof. Rahab went up to the roof. Joshua 2 verse 11 tells us what Rahab said about the one true God. "And as soon as we heard these things, our hearts did melt. Neither did there remain any more courage in any man because of you. For the Lord your God, he is God in heaven above and in earth beneath." She told the spies, "I know that the Lord has given you this land. In fact, everyone here is afraid because we knew you were coming. We've heard how the Lord dried up the Red Sea and how you have defeated many great kings. We know your God is the God in heaven and on the earth. So I ask you to promise me that when you take over, you'll protect my family. Please, save us from death." "If you don't tell what we're doing," the spies told Rahab, "we'll treat your family kindly when the Lord gives us this land." They told Rahab to hang a bright red cord from her window. That way Rahab and her family would be easy to find. Rahab agreed. Then she let the men down by a scarlet rope from her high window, and they landed safely outside the wall of the sleeping city. When the men were gone, Rahab tied the red cord in her window. The two spies went into the hills and hid there for 3 days, as Rahab had suggested. Then they returned to Joshua and told him all that had happened. Joshua 2, verse 24 tells us what they told Joshua. "And they said unto Joshua, Truly the Lord hath delivered into our hands all the land, for even all the inhabitants of the country do faint because of us." Joshua listened. He knew it was God's time for the Israelites to move. When Rahab heard about God and his awesome power, she chose to believe and trust him. The red cord Rahab hung from her window showed she trusted God with her life. We can choose to believe and trust in God too. That's our choice. And we can choose to believe and trust in God. Let's say our verse today, Psalm 96, verse 3. "Declare his glory among the heathen, his wonders among all people." Psalm 96, 3. Let's say it again. "Declare his glory among the heathen, his wonders among all people." Psalm 96, 3. When we listen to and read Bible stories, we know even more about God's great power. And as we study this account of Jericho, we're going to learn more about God's great power. And when we see God's power, we can tell others about the great things God has done. When Rahab hid the Israelite spies, she was putting her faith in the God of Israel. She had heard of God's power, and she chose to risk her life to help God's people, even though the situation was scary. God honored Rahab's faith. Not only was her life spared when the Israelites conquered Jericho, but Rahab was also welcome to live among the Israelites. Let's look at Hebrews 11:31. "By faith the harlot Rahab perished not with them that believed not, when she had received the spies with peace." In fact, Rahab was included in the line of Christ himself. Look at this. Rahab went to live with the Israelites. She married Salmon, and they had a son named Boaz, and Boaz married Ruth. And then if you look down, they were the ancestors of King David, and then down at the bottom, Jesus. So Rahab is included in the line of Christ himself. Isn't God wonderful? He is such a wonderful Redeemer. Let's choose to trust him and believe in him like Rahab. And God has a wonderful plan for your life too.
After years of slavery, hardship, and wandering, it was finally time for Israel to take possession of the promised land of Canaan. God raised Joshua to lead the effort. He said to Joshua, "Keep your heart and mind on me, and you will be successful and inherit the land." Joshua took strength in God's words and set about to prepare for battle against the enemy. One of his first obstacles was the city of Jericho, which belonged to a fearsome and corrupt people. Joshua sent 2 men on a secret mission to spy on them. On their way through the city, the spies met a local woman named Rahab and asked her for lodging. She was an immoral and careless woman who attracted a steady stream of people sharing in her lifestyle. The spies could easily hide in the constant activity. Rahab soon found out the men were from Israel, and stories came to her mind about the powerful things God had done to preserve them as a nation. She feared Israel, and she feared their God. She pleaded with the spies, "If you spare my life and the lives of my family, I will hide you and protect you." When Rahab heard the king's soldiers coming for the spies, she rushed them to the roof of her house. The spies lay quietly under stalks of flax, listening to the clamoring of soldiers as they approached. The soldiers interrogated Rahab, demanding, "Where are the 2 spies?" Although very much afraid, she calmly responded, "The men did, in fact, come to me, but just before you closed the gate, they left the city, and I don't know where they went. Hurry, run after them before they get away." Believing Rahab that the spies had already left, the soldiers quickly chased after them. Because of Rahab, the spies were delivered from the hands of their enemies. They thanked her for her courageous actions and swore to uphold their promise that they would spare her life and the lives of her family when the armies came back to destroy Jericho. In gratefulness, Rahab threw a rope from the window, a scarlet cord, and let the spies down safely to escape into the hills. As they descended the rope, the spies commanded Rahab, "When we come back to take the land, tie the same scarlet cord to your window and gather your entire family into your home, and you will be safe from harm." With complete faith in their words, she replied, "I will do exactly what you said."
The Faithful Hall of Fame, Rahab. This is Rahab. Rahab lived in the town of Jericho in the Promised Land. Rahab was not an Israelite, and she made bad choices. But God had a plan for Rahab, even though she was a sinner.
All right.
Now God told his people, the Israelites,
Hey, that's us.
to go into the Promised Land. So Joshua sent 2 spies to search the land around the city of Jericho. The 2 spies came to Rahab's house to stay the night. But the king of Jericho heard that there were spies in his city, so he sent orders for Rahab to bring them out. But Rahab hid the spies and told the king's men that it was true that the men were at her house, but she did not know where they were now.
I don't know. But
She told the king's men to go quickly to find the spies because they could not have gone far.
oh no.
Oh, right.
So the king's men rushed out to the city in pursuit of the Israelite spies. All the while, the Israelites hid on Rahab's roof. So Rahab went to them and said, "I know the Lord has given you this land. We have heard of the great acts that God has done for you. Your God is the God of all the heavens and the earth. So please swear to me that you will be kind to my family." The spies agreed to this, and Rahab helped them escape from the city. Before they left, they told Rahab to tie a scarlet rope to the window.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oops.
This rope would serve as a mark for Rahab's house and would remind the Israelites of their promise to her.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
And so the spies were on their way. For 3 days, they hid from the king's men who were looking for them. Finally, they returned to Joshua and told them all they had seen. Rahab was remembered for her faithfulness, for she had given a friendly welcome to the spies and put her trust in the one true God.